Hi, everyone. I'm Allie. I'm an accessibility consultant, and I'm deaf. Today, I want to share 5 tips for interacting with your deaf and hard of hearing coworkers. But before we jump in, let's go over some basics. Deaf, with a lowercase d, is used mostly as a medical description for someone like me who can't hear most or all sounds, even at higher volumes. Hard of hearing describes a milder hearing loss or something like single sided deafness. Deaf with a capital D refers to someone who's part of a distinct culture where sign language is the primary way of communicating. Not all deaf or hard of hearing people use sign language. In fact, many of us don't know it at all. But if someone does use sign language, it's probably their first language, and written or spoken English their second. If a deaf person asks for an interpreter, they're asking for a certified professional whose job is interpreting, not just simply someone to translate. Many of us use assistive technology like hearing aids, cochlear implants, or a combination of both, like I have. It's important to know that these devices don't cure hearing loss or make sound perfectly normal. What they can do is improve access to sound and support speech understanding. But if you take away the devices, we're still deaf. Tip number 1. Remember, we're individuals. This is true with any disability. Everyone is an individual. People have different preferences, different communication styles, and as you just learned, different kinds of hearing. I personally didn't lose my hearing until I was in my 20s, so I have decades of auditory memory and musical training for my brain to pull from. Others may not have heard any natural sounds for their entire lives. Everyone hears differently and everyone understands things differently. So not everyone is going to need the same level of support and accessibility. Remember that auditory disabilities are mostly invisible, so you may have no idea you're communicating with somebody who has one. But if you notice somebody is maybe struggling to understand, just ask what you can do to help make things easier.
Tip number 2, let us see you. When you're talking with a deaf or hard of hearing person, it really helps if we can see you. We are active listening, which means we're placing together what we hear with what we can see. Facial expressions, eye contact, and sometimes lip reading. So if you turn away, cover your mouth, or my personal pet peeve, talk while eating, you're taking away a big chunk of the information we use to follow the conversation. Also, always speak directly to us. If there's an interpreter in the room, keep your focus on the deaf person, not the interpreter. The interpreter is there to support communication, but the conversation is with the person. In virtual meetings, having your camera on can make a big difference, unless the connection is laggy, because that can throw everything off. Preferences vary, though. Some people really want the visual, and others would rather focus on captions. In person, background noise, including other people talking, can really be a problem. We'll often position ourselves in the best place in the room to minimize that and keep you on our good side, if we have one. So let us pick where to sit. Tip number 3, don't rephrase, just repeat. At some point, honestly, probably pretty often, we're going to ask you to repeat yourself, and we get it. Being asked what over and over again is extremely frustrating. But I promise, it's usually even more frustrating on our side because we're working really hard to keep up. So when we ask you to repeat something, try to say it the same way again first. Don't rephrase right away. Rephrasing may feel helpful, but it can actually slow things down. If the wording changes, we have to drop whatever we almost caught and start again from zero. If repeating once doesn't do the trick, then yes, okay, try rephrasing, typing it in chat, or pointing to something on the screen. But repeat first is usually the fastest path. Quick example, if you say, the deadline moved to Thursday, and I say, sorry, can you repeat that? Say, the deadline moved to Thursday. One more time. If you jump straight to, we're turning it in later this week, you've changed the words and I might miss it again. Whatever you do, please don't just say, it doesn't matter and move on. If you've said it, it matters to us, and we feel like we're being dismissed as unimportant. Tip number 4, auditory fatigue is real. When someone casually says, can we just jump on a call? Honestly, my answer is often not right now. Calls and meetings take a lot out of me because listening takes real effort. Our brains are working overtime to catch every word, fill in gaps, and make sure we didn't miss something important. The more we do it, the more tired we get, which makes listening even harder. That's why a lot of us put limits around meetings, maybe a certain number of hours per week or cap per day. It's not about being difficult, it's about managing capacity. During a call or meeting, many of us can't really multitask. If I'm listening, that's my full attention, because it has to be. The same is true for recordings of meetings. We have to schedule those into our day. So if we say no to a call, ask to move something to chat, or need a break, please give us a little grace. Even if our calendar looks free, that doesn't always mean we have the auditory bandwidth for another conversation. Give us time to rest and recharge.
Tip number 5, accessibility helps everyone. If you constantly practice accessibility and design it in from the beginning of your projects, everyone benefits. You can remember these tips for every conversation you have, no matter who you're talking to, regardless of hearing. Captions are great when you're in a noisy space, when you're trying not to disturb someone nearby, when you're multitasking, or when English isn't your first language. Transcripts are useful for everyone because they give you something you could search, copy, and come back to later. Disability is a normal part of life. Most people will experience it at some point, either temporarily or permanently. And hearing is a really common example. In the US, about 1 in 7 people under 65 has some degree of hearing loss. And over 65, it's about 1 in 3. People can also lose hearing temporarily from infections or other illnesses. And honestly, auditory fatigue can hit anyone on a rough day. So these tips aren't just nice to have, they're a respectful way to work. And they may end up helping you, your team, or someone you care about sooner than you think.